afternoon, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV coming to you with breaking news. 2 Major League Baseball pitchers have been indicted for rigging pitches. The Department of Justice says that they rigged pitches and they threw pitches a certain way so that people could bet on those pitches, bet on those individual pitches, and win money on those pitches during Major League Baseball games. Unbelievable. So 2 different Cleveland Guardians pitchers, Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz, have been indicted. Luis Ortiz was arrested today. Was that today he was arrested? Luis Ortiz was arrested today. Emmanuel Clase is not yet in U.S. custody. I don't know where Emmanuel Clase is, but he is not in U.S. custody. So we want to bring you the latest updates on this story. Look, it says it right here. 2 current Major League Baseball pitchers, Major League Baseball players, charged in sports betting and money laundering conspiracy. The defendants allegedly rigged pitches with corrupt sports bettors who placed fraudulent wagers worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now remember, this only comes a week or 2 after the basketball indictments, which we covered here. So remember, a couple weeks ago, on October 23rd, this is from the Department of Justice, current and former National Basketball Association players and 4 other individuals charged in widespread sports betting and money laundering conspiracy. And in those indictments included some of the charges in those indictments were, for example, where one player it was alleged that one player tipped off a longtime friend that he planned to leave a game early due to a purported injury. And then the person he told this to placed wagers based on this information. Again, there was just this announced a couple weeks ago on October 23rd. That was basketball. This is baseball. So we have the indictment. We're going to give you the details. The indictment has some photos in it. So we're going to let you know what the Department of Justice, what the prosecution has to say about this. And we're going to take your comments on the air. Our viewer, Bolo Santosi, says this is a massive issue in sports right now. Tuckgraph thinks the sports books have to eliminate bets on individual performances, especially underperforming. Waldo says, what's next? A figure skating scandal? Chat username should get rid of all sports betting and all betting. How does rigging pitches work? Well, we'll get it. We'll tell you the specifics. But basically, you can bet on the specific pitches that pitchers will throw. And if you know in advance how they're going to throw the pitch, then you can have a huge advantage, obviously. C. Garcia thinks this will keep snowballing as they give up all their buddies to save themselves. By the way, Emmanuel Clase, just to give you a little background here, he has been named an All-Star and led the American League in saves 3 times, was named AL Reliever of the Year in 2022 and 2024, and is Cleveland's all-time save leader. Okay, so let's get into this. Let's talk about some of the specifics here. And again, I have the indictment, and the indictment actually has pictures in it. So we're going to talk about this. Look, look at the indictment. It's got photos, screen grabs. So we're going to talk about this, get you the details. Give me one quick moment here. So I appreciate you being here, and thanks to our moderators. We got Roberts, Mayqueen, Ruth Krafasi, and they are there right now on YouTube. Thank you. Also over there on Twitch, we have Idaho Star moderating. Thanks, Idaho Star. Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha on X. And thanks to our Facebook moderators as well. Okay. Oopsie. Okay. I heard two of me for a second. Margaret Riley, Shannon Davis Hughes, thanks for moderating over there. All right. Our viewer, Frank Donnarummo, thinks pro sports are all fixed. All right, let's check out some of the specifics here. So this is from the U.S. Attorney's Office, Eastern District of New York. 2 current Major League Baseball players charged in sports betting and money laundering conspiracy. The defendants allegedly rigged pitches with corrupt sports bettors who placed fraudulent wagers worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, for example, a pitcher could intentionally throw a ball instead of a strike, and if a person knew in advance about that, they could bet that the pitch was going to be a ball. Earlier today at the federal courthouse in Brooklyn, this just came out today, an indictment was unsealed charging 2 defendants, Emmanuel Clase de la Cruz and Luis Leandro Ortiz Rivera, with wire fraud conspiracy, honest services wire fraud conspiracy, conspiracy to influence sporting contests by bribery, and money laundering conspiracy for their alleged roles in a scheme to rig bets on pitches thrown during Major League Baseball games. Ortiz was arrested today in Boston and will make an initial appearance in federal court tomorrow in Boston. And Clase is currently not in U.S. custody. I don't know where Clase is, but he's not in U.S. custody. By the way, just to mention this, Emmanuel Clase is a Dominican professional baseball pitcher who was born in the Dominican Republic. So I don't know if he's in the Dominican Republic. If he is, will he be extradited? I don't know. The U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York and the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI New York Field Office, Joseph Nacella Jr. and Christopher G. Raya, said professional athletes like Luis Leandro Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase de la Cruz hold a position of trust not only with their teammates. Oh, this is the U.S. Attorney saying this. Not only with their teammates in professional leagues, but with fans who believe in fair play. As alleged, the defendants sold that trust to gamblers by fixing pitches. In doing so, the defendants deprived the Cleveland Guardians and Major League Baseball of their honest services. So think about that. It's alleged, for example, that, you'll see a couple paragraphs down, it talks about Emmanuel Clase intentionally throwing balls. So think about this. He's getting paid all this money by the team, and people are paying to go to the game, and lots of people are watching the game, and some people bet on the games. And you're watching this game, and it's supposed to be on the up and up, and he is intentionally throwing a ball. Just intentionally. So somebody, allegedly, so somebody else can bet on it and make money. Our viewer Cece says someone owes Pete Rose an apology. In doing so, the defendants deprived the Cleveland Guardians and Major League Baseball of their honest services. They defrauded the online betting platforms where the bets were placed, and they betrayed America's pastime. Integrity, honesty, and fair play are part of the DNA of professional sports. When corruption infiltrates the sport, it brings disgrace not only to the participants, but damages the public trust in an institution that is vital and dear to all of us. Today's charges make clear that our office will continue to vigorously prosecute those who corrupt sports through illegal means. It gets into some of the details of the specifics of the allegations here. And the FBI assistant director said Ortiz and Clase allegedly rigged their pitches in professional baseball games so that an inner circle and occasionally themselves could quietly cash out their winnings. The defendants' alleged greed not only established an unfair advantage for select bettors, but also sullied the reputation of America's pastime. The FBI will ensure any individual who exploits their position as a professional athlete at the expense of others strikes out. And again, it says here, as set forth in the indictment, which we will look at, the two defendants agreed in advance with their co-conspirators on specific pitches that they would throw in MLB games. The co-conspirators then used that information to place hundreds of fraudulent bets on those pitches. Wow. Teresa S. says, bet on the under on side bets is what this is telling gamblers. Well, the gamblers in this case allegedly knew what the pitches were going to be in advance. Copious Hayes Music says, you're an MLB pitcher. That's not enough money. I don't get it. Let's see here. Lindsay says, Guardians fan here. This whole thing is so upsetting, so disappointed, hurt the whole team. This isn't just one pitcher. It's two of the pitchers on the team. I don't remember how many pitchers are on an MLB pitching staff. I mean, it's not that many. So there's a 26-man roster, usually 13 pitchers. I'm looking at the MLB site. But basically from opening day till August 13th and during the postseason, teams are limited to carrying 13 pitchers. So two pitchers for the Indians have now been indicted for pitch rigging. And now, I mean, obviously a question that comes up is anybody else doing this in the league? By the way, real quick, one of our viewers said government shutdown could end today. I actually think that's not true. Just to pass this along, because we're not covering that here, but not to get into the details. But for example, Jake Sherman, who is a very well-known, respected politics reporter, for Punchbowl News, he said today, about an hour ago, that there are negotiations going on that he believes represent the very, very early stages to reopen the government. He says if there's a certain agreement passed in the Senate, then for example, the House of Representatives would have to come back and they would have to deal with some things. So again, according to Jake Sherman, the negotiations going on today represent, quote, the very, very early stages to reopen the government. Okay, so I just wanted to mention that. Okay, so that being said, let's get back to this story. Guy Merritt, our viewer, says, crazy, they make so much money and throw away their careers for what? Thanks, by the way, to Martin Gingrich. Martin says, I'm from Cleveland, so sad because Clase was arguably the best pitcher in the league. I believe he was reliever of the year in 2022 and 2024. I think we read that on Wikipedia. American League reliever of the year in 2022 and 2024, Emmanuel Clase. Thank you, Gabriel Morrow. Gabriel, I'll keep an eye on the airport situation. Maybe we'll do coverage if things develop a certain way. Thank you, Trouble with the Trees, and also thank you, Gina Marie, for being members. Okay, so check it out. This is from the U.S. Attorney's Office, from their press release. Now, here's some of the specifics they allege about these two pitchers. Here we go. Beginning in or around May 2023, Emmanuel Clase, a relief pitcher for the Cleveland Guardians, one of the best relief pitchers in the league, beginning in or around 2023, he agreed with corrupt sports bettors to rig proposition bets or prop bets on particular pitches he threw. The bettors wagered on the speed and the type of his pitches. Wow. Based on information they knew in advance by coordinating with him, sometimes coordinating with him even during MLB games. Clase often threw these rigged pitches on the first pitch of an at-bat. To ensure certain pitches were called as balls, Clase threw many of them in the dirt, well outside the strike zone. You know, I have seen a number of videos on, for example, TikTok, where people have taken pitches from Emmanuel Clase and they said, for example, here's a collection of some of his first pitches to batters recently, and they show a bunch of pitchers that are really terrible pitchers that bounce in the dirt before home plate, for example. Now, I haven't gone back and verified all of these videos, but a lot of these videos have had a lot of views on them, and so again, I don't want to say I have not verified these videos, but there's plenty of them out there where people have made videos of a bunch of his first pitches. But again, the prosecution says to ensure certain pitches were called balls, Clase threw many of them in the dirt well outside the strike zone. I think we'll see there's pictures in the indictment as well. The bettors used the advanced inside information that Clase provided about his future pitches to wager thousands of dollars at online sports books. Clase at times received bribes and kickbacks from the bettors in exchange for providing advanced non-public information. He also sometimes provided money to the bettors in advance to fund the scheme. Wow. The indictment includes numerous examples of pitches that Emmanuel Clase rigged, including one in the Eastern District of New York in a game against the New York Mets. In total, by rigging pitches, Clase caused his co-conspirator bettors to win at least $400,000 in fraudulent wagers. I wonder if you bet on one of these pitches and you lost the bet. Can you get your money back now, right? Suppose I bet on one of these pitches to be a strike and it was a ball, and now he's being accused of intentionally throwing a ball to help gamblers win money. Can I now get my money refunded from the sports book because it wasn't a fair situation? I don't know how that works. So hold on a second here. Hold on a second here. Let's see here. So Molly Morgan thinks, I would think so. Gary Baines says too much time has elapsed. I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe I can find out something about that later. Carl Anderson says, sounds like it would be a legal matter. Cliff Padilla says, this is insane. The Sugaro says they will never care. Again, I have to look it up. I don't know. You know, and look, you know, you have this legal betting now, legal sports betting, where you can bet on things like individual pitches. So, you know, they're not saying that Emmanuel Clase threw the outcome of a game. They're saying individual pitches. He would know what he was going to do in advance and tell people about it. Let's see here. One of our viewers said, I'm sensing class action lawsuit. Edward Richard thinks you'd have to sue the pitcher. Let's see here. So, oh, here's a little more detail here. So this is about Luis Ortiz, the other pitcher. In or around June 2025, so this is interesting, they allege that Clase started doing this in or around May 2023. But the Ortiz allegation. Now, I do wonder if Clase was doing this before Ortiz. Did somehow Ortiz find out about this from Clase? Did these two pitchers allegedly just start doing this stuff independently of each other without telling each other they were doing it? Or did one tell the other? I don't know. But anyways, in or around June 2025, Ortiz, a starting pitcher for the Cleveland Guardians, joined the criminal scheme. Well, this says together with Clase, which makes it sound like they were talking to each other, but I got to read the indictment, which I haven't done yet. Together with Clase, Ortiz agreed in advance. Well, it says that he joined the scheme. He joined the scheme. It says, together with Clase, Ortiz agreed in advance to throw balls instead of strikes on pitches in 2 games in exchange for bribes and kickbacks. Before an MLB game on June 15th of this year, Ortiz agreed with his co-conspirators to throw a ball on a particular pitch in exchange for bribes. The bettors agreed to pay him a $5,000 bribe for throwing the rigged pitch and to pay Clase a $5,000 bribe for arranging the rigged pitch. Oh, so they're alleging that they both were in on this at the same time. Look at that. Whoa. Whoa. I haven't even had time before coming on the air, because I wanted to get on the air to go through all this stuff. Now, of course, one of our viewers says $5,000, that's it. It doesn't seem like a large amount of money. If you're wondering what they make, what I can tell you is, according to baseballreference.com, baseball-reference.com, they say that Emmanuel Clase has a contract that, am I reading this right? Hold on. They say in 2025 he made $4.9 million, and that he has a contract that in 2026 was going to pay him $6.4 million. In 2027 and 2028, there's a team option for $10 million. But they say he had a contract to pay him $6.4 million next year and $4.9 million this year. And they said the previous 3 years he got 1.9, 1.9, and 2.9 million. And then that's according to baseballreference.com. Now, just to be, hold on a second here. Just to tell you what Luis Ortiz's salary is. According to the site Spotrac, which you can go to, Spotrac, SPOTRAC.com. You can go there and check it out. They say Luis Ortiz made $820,000 in. They said in 2025 he made roughly $780,000, and in 2026 he's supposed to make about $800,000. And they say his career earnings are about $2.2 million. Again, you can check these numbers, for example, at spotrac.com, SPOTRAC.com, if you want to read about them in detail. But this is really quite something. It says that this year, in June, Luis Ortiz agreed to throw a ball on a particular pitch in exchange for $5,000, and that Emmanuel Clase, another pitcher on the Indians, agreed to take $5,000 for arranging the rigged pitch. So that's saying that in June of this year, the Guardians had 2 pitchers on their team that were running this rigged pitches scheme, and they didn't know about it. See, another thing here is going to be, I think, my guess, another aspect of this is like, wow, the Cleveland Guardians baseball team had 2 pitchers involved in a scheme to rig pitches, and no one on the team knew. The team itself did not know about this. I don't, so Wow. That's a big part of your team, 2 players. That's like, it's 2/13 of your pitching staff. Wow. Now, again, one thing else I'll point out here is it does say that they each got $5,000. So something I don't know, I haven't read the indictment yet. But look, people can do this stuff for money. I don't know if there's any other factors involved. First of all, people can make a lot of money, but they can also spend a lot of money, or maybe they still have, just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you don't have money issues or you don't want more money. Also, I don't know if there's any other motivation that they might have had. Were there any kind of threats involved, or did they want to help out certain people for a certain reason? I just don't know. So I wouldn't conclude. This doesn't mean that the only reason they were doing it was to make $5,000, right? I don't know, but I'm just pointing that out. So I don't know what other motivations they might have had. Mary Perry Smith says, "Oh my gosh, these 2 players were making a fortune. How greedy of them." BSH says 5,000 is all we're hearing about. Teresa S thinks players gamble and get in debt to the wrong people. One of our viewers mentioned child support, Lily. They Call Me Taj says there must be a drug problem or debt because ain't no way, it makes no sense. Lethal Old Fart says it's also a thrill. Okay, now look at this one. Before an MLB game this year on June 27th, Ortiz agreed with his co-conspirators to rig a second pitch by throwing a ball in exchange for a bribe. That means, for those who don't know baseball, if you throw a pitch, if it's in the right area, it's a strike. If it's outside that area, it's a ball. So it's throwing a pitch outside this area, which will mean it's a ball. The bettors agreed to pay Ortiz Ortiz $7,000, a $7,000 bribe for throwing the rigged pitch, and Clase a $7,000 bribe for arranging the rigged pitch. Those are the 2 pitchers. Again, they're in on it again, according to authorities. Before the game on June 27th, Clase withdrew $50,000 in cash and provided $15,000 to a co-conspirator who used the money to wager on Ortiz's rigged pitch during the game. In total, by rigging pitches for bribes, Ortiz caused his co-conspirator bettors to win at least $60,000 in fraudulent wagers. Man. Okay, the charges are allegations. The defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty. If convicted, they face a maximum. Now, they might not get the maximum, even if convicted. They face a maximum sentence of 20 years for the wire fraud conspiracy count, 20 years for honest services wire fraud conspiracy count, 5 years on conspiracy to influence sporting contests by bribery, and 20 years imprisonment on money laundering conspiracy count. So they each face a maximum of 65 years in prison. Now, I don't know what sentencing guidelines are. So if they have no criminal record, maybe even if they were convicted, they would get significantly less than that. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But they face 65 years in prison each. Sarkbite believes endorsements are gone. Jeff Cook thinks they will be done as MLB players. The MLB statement I saw on this today. I saw an MLB statement reported on this, a short statement from MLB. I got to see if the Cleveland Guardians posted about this. The statement from the MLB... Hang on. If it's in the, I can read it to you. Maybe it's in this article. Let's see here. Here it is right here. This is from the AP article. It says, Major League Baseball said it had contacted federal law enforcement When federal law enforcement began investigating the unusual betting activity and has fully cooperated with authorities. We are aware of the indictment in today's arrest, and our investigation is ongoing. The Cleveland Guardian said, we are aware of the recent law enforcement action. We will continue to fully cooperate with both law enforcement and Major League Baseball as their investigations continue. There is Luis Ortiz right there in a picture from AP. Luis Ortiz. And there is Emmanuel Clase. Wow. Chris Henson, our viewer, says, talented pitchers throwing their careers down the drain. Confidence in God says, follow the money. We're going to look at the indictment. The indictment has pictures in it. We're going to look at the indictment right now. Wow. Look at it. It's got pictures. So we got to look through this. It's got a bunch of pictures. We're going to look through this right now. Let me read some comments. El Dorado said, can their citizen be stripped? I don't know that they're citizens. So Wikipedia says Emmanuel Clase is a Dominican pitcher. So he very well might not be a citizen. And then... I mean, there could be something where if they have I assume they have visas. I don't know. Luis Ortiz is also a Dominican pitcher. So in addition to whether baseball could take action, I don't know if they're convicted of these crimes, could that, I mean, I'm guessing if they're convicted of the crimes, baseball's not going to allow them to play anyway. But, and in addition, they certainly could get jail time, but could also they not be allowed to, even if they don't get jail time or get out of jail, would they not be allowed to be in the country anymore? It's a good question. I don't know. But right now they're facing criminal proceedings in the U.S. Well, Emmanuel Clase is not in custody yet. Luis Ortiz was arrested in Boston this morning, so he is in custody. Shackled Text thinks at this point all sports need to be investigated. Mama Yoli thinks umpires, referees, and some coaches have to be in on this. Remember, you can make these bets on small things in sports betting nowadays, in legal sports betting. For example, you can bet on a particular pitch in baseball. And you can bet on individual players' performance in basketball, for example. JF Sebastian, our viewer, thinks the mob has something bigger on these guys because it's not the money. Bobby Kiefer says, show me the money. All right, let's talk some more about this. I want to show you some of this indictment here. We have the actual indictment, and let's read some of the details here. By the way, AP says in their article, the charges against Clase and Ortiz are the latest bombshell developments in a federal crackdown on betting in professional sports. Betting scandals have long been a concern for professional sports leagues, but a U.S. Supreme Court ruling in May 2018 led to a wave of gambling incidents involving athletes and officials. The ruling struck down a federal law that barred sports betting in most states and opened the doors for online sports books to take up a prominent space in the sports ecosystem. Last month, more than 30 people, including prominent basketball figures such as Portland Trail Blazers head coach and Basketball Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, were arrested in a gambling sweep that rocked the NBA. Zealot, our viewer, thinks it's all went wrong when sports betting came along. Helen says, any decent sports left. Gamer Lover says, so many gambling apps. Quick thanks again to our moderators. We have Ruth Krafasi is moderating right now. Thank you so much, Ruth. I really appreciate it. And over there on Twitch, we have Oops, that's not the right one. Right here. We have Idaho Star moderating on Twitch. I got that fire, and Matthew Kohai 3. Thank you. We have Margaret Riley is moderating on Facebook. Thanks, Margaret. And Kayla Ribati. Thanks to Jennifer Ellers for subscribing on Facebook, by the way. And thanks Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha for moderating on X. All right, let's talk about some of the specifics here. I have the indictment right here. We're not going to literally read through the whole thing. Oh, you know what I should do for you guys? I should put the indictment. I'm going to put the link to the indictment in the chat right now. So you can link to indictment. So you can pull it up and read along if you'd like, or read it on your own. Oopsie. Link to indictment. I will pin it on YouTube. If the moderators could pin it on the other platforms, that would be awesome. Thank you. I'll pin it on YouTube right now. Okay, so this is the indictment. Again, I'm not going to read through literally everything, but let's look at some of this stuff. The defendants, 2 Major League Baseball pitchers playing for the Cleveland Guardians, conspired with bettors to rig pitches in professional baseball games so that the bettors would profit from illegal wagers made based on that inside information. The defendants agreed in advance with their co-conspirators to throw specific types and speeds of pitches, and their co-conspirators used that inside information to place wagers on those pitches. In some instances, the defendants received bribes and kickback payments funneled through third parties in exchange for rigging pitches. Through this scheme, the defendants defrauded betting platforms, deprived Major League Baseball and the Cleveland Guardians of their honest services, illegally enriched themselves and their co-conspirators, misled the public, and betrayed America's pastime. Wow. Now, our viewer Jack says, interesting, it's isolated to the one team. Well, the charges are. Is anyone else doing anything like this elsewhere in baseball? I can't say for sure, no. All right, so we're talking about Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz. Let's get to the fraudulent scheme. The fraudulent scheme, here it is. From around May 2023 through June 2025, the defendant, Emmanuel Clase, again, one of the best pitchers in the major leagues. He was the AL reliever of the year in 2022 and 2024, Emmanuel Clase. Starting from around May 2023 to June 2025, Emmanuel Clase agreed with Better One and others to throw specific pitches in certain MLB games so that the bettors, and at times himself, would profit from illegal wagers made based on that inside information. And in or around June of 2025, Luis Ortiz, another pitcher on the same team, joined the scheme and agreed to throw specific pitches in certain baseball games in exchange for money. Overall, the bettors won at least $450,000 from the betting platforms on these pitches. Now, I do wonder, how did Ortiz get involved in the scheme? Did Clase tell Ortiz about the scheme and recruit him? Or did one of the bettors maybe suggest getting him involved? I have no idea. Maybe it says in here. E-Rock Hall says, as a Clevelander, I'm disgusted. Thanks, Aaron Easton, for your support. Aaron Easton says, as a diehard Cleveland Indians Guardians fan my whole life, this is just a mess. OIC only in Cleveland. Okay, so fraudulent wagers associated with Clase's pitches. Beginning in or around May 2023, the defendant, Emmanuel Clase, agreed in advance with Better One on specific pitches he would throw in certain MLB games. Usually they agreed that Clase would throw balls instead of strikes and slower slider pitches rather than faster cut fastball cutter pitches, and often on the first pitches of an at-bat when Clase was brought into the game as a relief pitcher. So often these rigged pitches were the first pitch he threw when he came into a game, they say. With Clase's knowledge and approval, several bettors used this info to place over 100 fraudulent. Wow. So you can bet on pitch speed, and you can bet on whether a pitch will be a ball or hit the batter. And they placed straight bets on parlays. You can bet on the speed of, you can bet on individual pitches, whether they'll be balls, how fast they will be. So they were betting on this stuff. Wow. For example, on or around May 19th, Cleveland played the New York Mets. After receiving advanced info from Emmanuel Clase about a specific pitch that he was going to throw, several bettors won approximately $27,000 on betting platform 2 by wagering that a pitch thrown by him would be faster than 94.95 miles an hour. Wow. Wow. Similarly, on or around June 3rd, the Guardians played the Minnesota Twins. After receiving advance info from Clase about a specific pitch, several bettors won approximately $38,000 on betting platform 2 by placing multiple bets that a pitch thrown by Clase would be both a ball or hit by pitch and would be slower than 94.95 miles an hour. A screenshot of the video footage of the pitch with the ball highlighted in the red box, which Clase threw slower than 94.95 miles per hour and into the dirt well before home plate, is included below. Wow, guys, look at the screenshot. I might have to post this because it has the screenshot in it. Hold on, I'm going to post this because I think it's interesting. Hang on a moment here. Yeah, I mean, that's a really bad pitch. Oh, Pablo Torre also posted he posted this stuff, so I'll repost his. Same thing. But anyways, this is a really bad pitch. See, it lands before the plate. You're supposed to throw it directly to the catcher. And that is bouncing well before the plate. As I mentioned, there are videos people have put together on social media. I have seen a bunch on TikTok where they put together pitches they thought were suspicious of Class A's. And they're like pitches like this. Now, I can't verify, I haven't gone back myself and verified all the footage, but, you know, there are pitches like this that are just really bad pitches. Jack says, a little low on that one, not too obvious. Fred Withrow says, surely the evidence is conjecture. How can it be proved beyond reasonable doubt? Well, Fred, it's a good question what other evidence they have. Now, I'll have to read through here. I haven't read through the indictment. But for example, you know, one of the, I don't know if they have talked to, did bettors in the scheme agree to talk to the, to agree to give information to the authorities, for example, to avoid charges themselves? That would be one thing. They might have testimony, for example. I do not know if I haven't looked through this, so I'm not sure. But, you know, it's a fair question what evidence, you know, there's certainly circumstantial evidence. But, you know, they might have text messages. Maybe they have text messages about the actual scheme. Maybe they have voice messages about the scheme. Maybe they have written notes about the scheme from the people involved. Riley88 mentions wiretaps. They could have all kinds of evidence. Okay, let's read another one. Another one here with another picture. This is one of the best pictures in the majors. In another instance, on or about June 7th, 2023, the Cleveland Guardians played an MLB game against the Boston Red Sox. After receiving advance information from Emmanuel Clase about a specific pitch that Clase intended to throw, several bettors won approximately $58,000 on betting platform 2 by placing multiple bets that a certain pitch would be both a ball or hit by pitch and would be slower than 94.95 miles an hour. A screenshot of video footage of the pitch with the ball highlighted in the red box Low into the dirt is included below. So that's that one. Another really terrible pitch. Just literally not even making it past the plate on the ground. Just an awful pitch, right? That there's no chance. Well, the only chance it would be a strike is if the person swung at it. You know, I saw mention, I haven't had time to look through the indictment. I think there might have been a case where somebody swung at one of these. But basically, I mean, there's no chance the umpire is going to call this a strike on his own. Oh, there's another one here, another picture. Here we go. Beginning in or around April 2025, on several occasions, the defendant Emmanuel Clase requested and received bribe and kickback payments in exchange for agreeing to throw specific pitches. This is this season. For example, on or about April 12th, after receiving advanced info from Clase about a specific pitch that Clase intended to throw, several bettors won approximately $15,000 on betting platform 2 by placing multiple bets that a pitch would be both a ball / hit by pitch and would be slower than 98.45 miles an hour. A screenshot of video footage of the pitch. Look at this. Which Clase threw into the grass well before home plate is shown below. This pitch hit the grass before the dirt. It was that bad a pitch. The pitch was thrown into the grass before the dirt in front of home plate. Wow. Nashville Lou says, oops. BG says, some people are too greedy. Sandy Doggo says, yay, we just lost $40,000 on that pitch betting platform. You know, with the betting platforms, see, I don't know how the platforms work. Some platforms, I assume with these platforms you're betting against the platform. So I wonder, though, but some people, I think isn't the platform trying to roughly take in the platform lost money to people who bet on a ball, but they won money from people who bet on a strike. So maybe to them, it might be the case for these pitches that for the platforms, their winnings didn't really change depending on the strike or ball, if they were taking in roughly the same money from each side. I don't know. Yes, and Walter, they were betting on people, what we've heard from authorities is they were betting on things like how fast the pitch would be and whether it would be a ball or a strike. Wow. So again, this pitch hit before the dirt in the grass. Texas Gal says that's intentional. Thomas Darwin says definitely not an MLB pitch. Massachusetts guy says risk a career for this money. Well, he wasn't. Massachusetts guy says risk a career for $58,000. Well, remember, it's alleged that the $58,000 one was what the bettors made on it. It's not what Clase made on it. So, I don't know if they literally go through all the evidence here they have about how much Clase was making. They talk about him making certain money in certain instances. Let's see here. Continuing on here. Okay, after throwing this pitch here, which he told us, a certain person about, and bettors with inside info bet on it. The following day, says the indictment, the defendant, Clase, asked bettor 1 by text message whether bettor 1 had been able to wager anything. See, Fred Witherow, text message evidence right here. After bettor 1 responded in substance that bettor 1 had bet and won money, Clase directed bettor 1 to send some of it to Dominican Republic, where he's from. Clase provided bettor 1 with contact info for a recipient for the money and directed the bettor to send it to that recipient as if it were someone else. Clase also told bettor 1 that the money was for repairs at the country house. Our viewer Tater Monk says sus. Mark F. says busted. Massachusetts guy says, no one has learned that text messages are not a good way to do underhanded things. Wow. Okay, let's keep going here. Cherry Cola thinks Better One has flipped. Maybe that's true. As part of the scheme, Emmanuel Clase used his cellular phone in the middle of MLB games involving the Guardians to coordinate with Better One. Wow. Again, the indictment says that as part of the scheme, Emmanuel Clase, one of the best pitchers in the major leagues, used his cell phone in the middle of games to coordinate with Better One. For example, on or about May 17th of this year, the Cleveland Guardians played against the Cincinnati Reds. The game began at approximately 6:40 p.m. At approximately 8:24 p.m., Clase sent a text message to the bettor asking if Better One was ready. Better One responded, but of course. Approximately 10 minutes later, the Better One, Better Two, and several other bettors won approximately $10,000 by placing multiple bets that a pitch thrown by Clase would be both a ball or a hit by pitch and would be slower than 97.95 miles an hour. A screenshot of the pitch with the ball highlighted is included below. Again, another horrible pitch thrown into the dirt that was well out of the strike zone. So 10 minutes before this, throwing the pitch, they say he was on his phone at the game. He was on his phone coordinating with the bettor. Wow. Texas Gal says, what did they have on these MLB players? Mad Mike says, say it isn't so, Joe. Say it ain't so, Joe. Pox Holiday, our viewer, thinks we are nearing the gambling tipping point. Scandals like this have taken down entire leagues in history, horse cart racing, anyone. Wow. They call me Taj says, okay, so the money was adding up. One of our viewers said, shameless stupidity. Cece says, that's just stupidity. Okay, let's keep going here in the indictment. Look at all these details in the indictment. A few days after this, on or about May 20th of this year, Emmanuel Clase sent Better One a text message with bank account information in the text message. I'm thinking of what Massachusetts guy said about putting all this in text messages. Sent him a text message with bank account information and told Better One to let me know when you send the thing, to which Better One responded, I will start with 2,000. Thereafter, Better One corresponded with an associate of Clase in the Dominican Republic, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury. So, again, I don't know if some of these people are cooperating witnesses. Closest Clase Associate 1 directed Better One to send approximately $2,000 to an individual in the Dominican Republic for Clase's benefit. Oh, also, Clase coordinated rigging pitches in person with Better One at Clase's residence in Ohio. Better One traveled to Ohio and visited Clase at home. Clase obtained tickets for Better One to obtain the Guardians MLB game the following day, April 26th, against the Red Sox. The game began at approximately 1:10 p.m. In the middle of the game, at approximately 3:16 p.m., Clase sent a text message to Better One. A few seconds later, Clase and Better One had a phone call during the game that lasted approximately 2 minutes. 4 minutes later, Better One and several bettors won approximately $11,000 by wagering a pitch thrown by Clase would be slower than 97.95 miles per hour. Wow. So again, they have multiple instances that they say in which this year Clase was coordinating by phone with a bettor at the game, during the game, shortly before throwing these pitches. Wow. Sevenfold says this is disturbing. Okay, similarly, in May, Better One traveled to Ohio, visited Emmanuel Clase at his residence. Clase obtained tickets for the Better to attend a game that day. That same day, after receiving advance info from Clase, Better One, Better Two, and several bettors won approximately $11,000 by wagering on that a pitch thrown by Clase would be a ball or HBP. After the game, Better visited Clase at his residence. A screenshot of that pitch with the ball highlighted in the red box, which Clase threw low, is included below. Wow. It was also part of the scheme that on some occasions, Clase provided money to Better One to wager on Clase's behalf. So this is alleging that Clase was betting on his own pitches, right? Right? Because it says, on some occasions, Clase, again, one of the best pitchers in the major leagues, provided money to Better One to wager on Clase's behalf on his own pitches. On his own pitches. For example, on or about May 13, Better One sent Clase a text with a phone number and told Clase to send it there if you can, but also noted, if not, we can work with what we have, no problem. Clase responded, okay, and responded, how much do I send? Better One replied, however much you can, $2,500 and under. Clase wrote back, okay, and asked for the name of the individual on the account. Better One said the individual's first name. Later that day, Clase electronically transferred approximately $2,500 to an individual with the same first name, who subsequently transferred $2,500 to Better One. That same day, after receiving advanced info from Clase about a specific pitch, Better One, Better Two, and several bettors won approximately $3,500 on betting platform 2 by placing multiple bets that a pitch thrown by Clase would be a ball or HBP and would be slower than 99.45 miles an hour. After the game, the Better One visited Clase at his residence, and a screenshot shows this ball, which was slower than 99.45 miles an hour and low in the dirt here. Oh my gosh. BG says, I can already see the miniseries. Man, oh man. BZ says, were the umps in on it too? No one is alleging the umps were in on this, but these pitches were so bad. I mean, the pitches that they're showing the screenshots of are so bad that the umpire, there's no way the umpire would have called these strikes. They're just such bad pitches. U.S. Rights and Freedom says disgraceful cheaters. Canyon Overlook says technology, cell phones enabled this. One of our viewers thinks Better One must be a family member, Charlana. I don't know who Better One is. Loves Cat says, I bet there is more to uncover. All right. Keep going here. To generate larger returns on the fraudulent pitches, Better One and the other bettors often placed parlay bets on the betting platforms in which one leg of the parlay bets was fraudulent pitches thrown by Emmanuel Clase. Okay, they talk about parlay bets. Fine. I'll skim down more here. Oh, what is this? Look at this. What is this one? On or about May 28th of this year, the Guardians played the Dodgers. The game began at approximately 1:10 p.m. Just before the game, Better One sent a text message to Clase confirming whether Clase was all set. Clase responded yes. In the middle of the game, Better One and Better Two placed wagers approximately $4,000 each, totaling approximately $4,000, including a parlay bet that a pitch thrown by Clase would be a ball or hit by pitch. Clase threw a pitch that appeared to be a ball, but the batter swung, even though it was a ball, resulting in a strike and leading Better One and Better Two to lose their wagers. Oh. Approximately 20 minutes after the bettor lost the wager, the bettor sent a text message to Clase, which was a GIF image of a man hanging himself with toilet paper. Even though the Indians won the game, approximately 10 minutes later, Clase responded with a GIF image of a sad puppy dog face. Wow. What details in here? Overall, between 2023 and 2025, bettors won at least $400,000 from the betting platform on pitches thrown by Emmanuel Clase, one of the best pitchers in the major leagues. So we are covering the story where two Cleveland Guardians pitchers have been indicted for rigging pitches, intentionally throwing certain types of pitches in certain locations, so that bettors could, and sometimes themselves, at least we saw a case allegedly of Clase doing this, could win money by betting on the pitches, on the individual pitches. Wow. Okay, Paulie says this comedy is writing themselves. Did they say did they say Indians in the indictment? I might have slipped up and said Indians. No, I think what's happening is they're the Guardians, but I keep slipping up and using their own name, Indians. So I'm sorry if I've done that. All right, so let's look at there's some stuff in the indictment. I've put the indictment, I've pinned it in the chat for you guys if you want to read it. But let's look at some of the stuff in here about the other pitcher. We haven't read that yet, which is right here. Fraudulent wagers associated with defendant Ortiz's pitches. Catstring, our viewer, says WWE and MLB same time. Same, haha. Again, Luis Ortiz has been arrested, was arrested today in Boston. Emmanuel Clase is not yet in custody. Wow. Yes, two different pitchers. Zarumag said, oh, wait, it's multiple pitchers. Two pitchers on the same team. Mad Mike says, Clase gambling addiction, maybe? Let's see here. Don Roig, our viewer, thinks the NFL will be next. Man. All right, let's check out some of the detail, the rest of the indictment. Aaron Easton, thanks Aaron for your support. Aaron says Clase was unhittable in the regular season and then fell apart in the playoffs and blew the series. If they find out he blew those games on purpose, says Aaron Easton. Thanks Sevenfold 777 for your support. And Confidence in God. Thank you, Confidence in God, for your support. All right, let's get into this. Let's see what they say about Ortiz in the indictment. On or around, in or around June 2025 of this year, Luis Ortiz of the Guardians joined the criminal scheme with Emmanuel Clase and the bettors. Ortiz agreed to throw balls instead of strikes on certain pitches in exchange for bribes or kickbacks. Clase. So Clase, another part of this is Clase didn't just rig pitches. He also was the go-between for his teammate and the bettors. Wow. Clase coordinated between Ortiz and bettor one, who in turn coordinated with the other bettors. For his role in coordinating between Ortiz and bettor one, Clase requested and received money. Man. Okay, so for example, on or about June 15th, Luis Ortiz was scheduled to be a starting pitcher against the Seattle Mariners. Before the game, Ortiz agreed with Clase that in exchange for around $5,000, Ortiz would throw a ball for his first pitch in the second inning of the game. Clase agreed that with the bettor number one, that Clase would receive approximately $5,000, so $10,000 total for both pitchers, for arranging the pitch. The game was supposed to start around 4:10. Around 1:40 p.m., the bettors sent text messages to Clase saying, "How are we doing? Everything under control there?" Man, it's like a movie. Bettor one and Clase then had a brief telephone call. Shortly thereafter, around 3:30 p.m., bettor 1 and 2 placed several wagers totaling approximately $13,000 on the betting platforms that pitch 1 of inning 2 would be a ball. I assume it's pitch 1 of inning 2. Subject pitch 1 was a ball, leading to a payout of approximately $26,000. A screenshot of the footage shows the ball was thrown low into the left of home plate. Another quite bad pitch right there. Bunny says this will be made into a movie. Nana of 9 Munchkin says there's no crying in baseball. Cherry Cola thinks 14-year-old kids cover their tracks better than this. Quipson says something is rotten to the core in MLB. Kolohi SF says this is so dirty. Our viewer Master Cool says I'm going to have to start watching air hockey. This is crazy. Gemini Rose said they got their own little mafia ring happening. Ha 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 ha. Ventura Highway says, don't forget he was suspended in August while MLB investigated. Just to go back on that. Yes. In July, he was put on non-disciplinary paid leave for his alleged involvement in a sports betting investigation. I'm talking about Clase. Yeah, so for example, I'm reading in August 31st, the MLB said that, so the MLB had already put on Emmanuel and Clase and Luis Ortiz on non-disciplinary paid leave while the league was investigating gambling stuff. Ortiz was placed on leave on July 3rd, and Clase was placed on leave on July 28th. Okay. Okay. Again, on or around June 16th, Better One corresponded with Clase Associate One, who directed Better One to electronically transfer approximately $10,000 in smaller increments to multiple individuals in the Dominican Republic. Shortly thereafter, Clase sent a text message to Better One, noting that Better One said you were going to do it today, but you didn't tell me anything, referring to the transfer of $10,000 in bribe payments for Clase and Ortiz. Better One responded, everything is there already. Later the same day, Ortiz sent a text message to Clase asking him to tell me what the guy from the thing told you. Clase responded, they receive it tomorrow and I'll place it over there, referring to the initial receipt of the $10,000 in bribe payments by multiple individuals in the Dominican Republic and his intent to subsequently transfer those funds to Clase and Ortiz. Man. Okay. Then there's, I'm not going to read all through this, but there's another thing, which is June 18th. Ortiz sent messages to Clase regarding Ortiz's receipt of money for throwing that pitch. Ortiz sent Clase a photograph of an ID card for an individual in the Dominican Republic. And told Clase, tell them to put the 90,000 pesos there and to keep the other ones. Keep the 200 and the 90 to that person today, please. Man. Okay. Then they talk about, again, oh, look at this. So the next day, Clase sent Ortiz a photo of a receipt for the wire transfer of approximately 90,000 pesos from Clase's associate to Ortiz's associate, as well as an audio message directing Ortiz to cause his associates in the Dominican Republic to lie about the purpose of the funds Ortiz was receiving if asked. They're going to ask him, what is that payment for over there? Tell him that this is payment for a horse. Payment for a horse. You got that? Ortiz responded, okay, perfect. Those are the two pitchers texting each other or messaging each other. Okay. Then they talk about another game and another subject pitch. It just seems like a similar thing. I'm going to keep going through here. This is the last specific. They say June 19th. They say June 27th. There was a game between Cleveland and the St. Louis Cardinals. Before the game, Ortiz agreed with Clase that in exchange for approximately $7,000, Ortiz would throw a ball for his first pitch of the third inning. Clase agreed with Better One that Clase himself would receive $7,000 for arranging this. Clase obtained tickets for the bettor to obtain the game. As part of the scheme, before the game, as captured by bank security camera footage, Clase himself This is wow. Clase, the pitcher, who is setting this thing up with the other pitcher, one of the best pitchers in the major leagues, before the game, as captured by bank security footage, Clase himself withdrew approximately $50,000 in cash before the game on the same day, it looks like. He provided approximately $15,000 of the cash to bettor 1 to use to wager on the pitch. Approximately 1 hour later, as captured by bank security camera footage, bettor 1 deposited the $15,000 at the same bank branch from which Clase withdrew the $50,000. Man, oh man. Dana Cush says, cue up the Benny Hill music. King of the Swamp said they did sloppy work. Gary Baines thinks the evidence is overwhelming. Deej Ohio thinks it's not like they needed the money. Then, in advance of the start of the game, several bettors wagered approximately $18,000 on a certain pitch. That would be a ball. The pitch was a ball. And they got about $37,000 payout. Screenshots of video footage show that Ortiz threw the pitch into the ground far from the strike zone. And the catcher didn't even catch it because of its distance from the strike zone. Look, there is the pitch. There is the pitch. It went all the way to the backstop. The catcher couldn't even catch it because it was thrown so far away from him. This was this season. Our viewer intern Siriani says this will be just the beginning. Mary Perry Smith sounds like they were helping others make money. So on the pitches thrown by Ortiz, they say, made bettors at least $60,000. And they say the pitches thrown by Clase made Clase, how much money did they say? They said Clase's pitches made bettors are at least $400,000. And then at the end, so that's the specifics in the indictment, and then they say that this shows that they have committed wire fraud conspiracy, honest services wire fraud conspiracy, conspiracy to influence sporting contests by bribery, and money laundering conspiracy. Oh, also forfeiture allegation. Upon their conviction, the defendants will need to forfeit any property, real, personal, constituting or derived from proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as a result of such offenses. So there's forfeiture possibilities here too. Wow, guys. This is quite an indictment with quite a lot of detail in it. This is 2 pitchers on the Cleveland Guardians. It said they were doing this stuff this year, in addition to before this year. One of them accuses one of them of Clase of doing it in 2023. Man, oh man. CC says just wild. Where's the picture of the pitch going past the catcher? Right here, this one. Oh, man. This is quite something. Ventura Highway thinks given Clase's pitch arsenal, spiked pitches are an aberration. Cesar de Geronimo says, inflation must be hitting professional athletes hard. Accidental Fire says those guys are in so much trouble. Again, each of them faces a maximum of 65 years in prison, although I don't know what sentencing guidelines would say they should get if they don't have criminal records. Just says, I'm so upset about this, all over getting richer and richer. So, as I mentioned, this comes just, I think, around 17 days after a number of NBA players, a number of former NBA players were indicted in a sports betting and money laundering conspiracy. So, I mean, is this happening in other leagues or with other players in the same leagues? I don't know. I have no idea. MFNC says there's no real evidence that this is true. Please cite the source. We just read the indictment. They literally talk about text messages, phone calls, bank. They have a bank video, but they literally have text messages, they said. You have to read the indictment again. I don't think you were listening. Now, they have not been proven guilty. So let's, just as the Department of Justice says, let's emphasize these are allegations. The defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty. The defendants will be able to defend themselves in a court of law. Well, I guess that'll happen for Class A if he's taken into custody. But so as I've been saying, these are alleged offenses. But I have posted the indictment. You can look at it yourselves and read through it yourself. But it certainly does appear. Well, I would not be surprised if some of the bettors or or associates, and they say certain people, bettors and associates, I think they say their names are known to the grand jury. So I would not be surprised if there are cooperating witnesses here who maybe are giving information in exchange for hopefully getting a lesser sentence or no charges. I don't know. Scar thinks they are all in a room snitching each other out as we speak. Doug Cahill says very detailed indictments as if they recorded events. Ivory News says NFL is next. Wow. Oh, and you can see here, it says, this is the AP article about this. It says that, a lawyer for Clase did not immediately return message seeking comment. Ortiz's lawyer, Chris Georgalis, he's one of the two pitchers, said in a statement, his client was innocent and has never and would never improperly influence a game, not for anyone and not for anything. The lawyer said Ortiz's defense team had previously documented for prosecutors that the payments and money transfers between him and individuals in the Dominican Republic were for lawful activities. The lawyer for Ortiz says there is no credible evidence Luis knowingly did anything other than try to win games with every pitch and in every inning. Luis looks forward to fighting these charges in court, calling the government's case weak and circumstantial. That is from Luis Ortiz's lawyer. Thomas Darwin says, we will find out. Malice Bixie says, for a horse, of course. Jack says, it's all just a big misunderstanding. Lauren Detroit says, yeah, okay, LOL. Major League Baseball said it contacted federal law enforcement when it began investigating unusual betting activity and has fully cooperated with authorities. The Guardian said, we are aware of the recent law enforcement action. We will continue to fully cooperate with both law enforcement and Major League Baseball as their investigations continue. Again, it's very interesting to me that this was allegedly going on with two pitchers and the Guardians didn't know about it. I mean, I would think the Guardians feel this is a failure of intelligence on their part. I might be wrong about this, but I would think if you ran a professional sports team and two of your players were alleged to be actively underperforming during games to help bettors win money and coordinating with bettors at the games, for example, At least it says Clase coordinated during the games with one or more bettors. I would think as a team, you would feel like, how did we not know about this? We need to do a better job as a team to find out about this stuff. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I feel like if I owned a team, I would think that. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But that's a thought I have. Zeppelin thinks this coming to light won't deter this from happening again in any sports league. Sports betting should be banned. The charges are the latest bombshell developments in a federal crackdown on betting in professional sports. Last month, more than 30 people, including prominent basketball figures such as Portland Trail Blazers head coach and Basketball Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, were arrested in a gambling sweep that rocked the NBA. By the way, Major League Baseball suspended 5 players in June 2024, including a lifetime ban for San Diego Padres infielder Tucupita Marcano, who it said placed 387 bets on baseball, totaling more than $150,000 with a legal sports book. Umpire Pat Hoberg was fired in February for sharing his legal sports gambling accounts with a friend who bet on baseball games and for intentionally deleting electronic messages pertinent to the league's investigation. And again, in those basketball indictments, one of the allegations in the basketball indictment, for example, was that Terry Rozier, NBA player, tipped off a longtime friend that Rozier planned to leave a game early due to a purported injury. Rozier provided this info to his friend for the purpose of enabling the friend to place wagers based on this information. The friend and others used that info to place and direct more than $200,000 in wagers predicting Rozier's under statistics, i.e. that Rozier would underperform. Rozier exited that game after 9 minutes, and many of those bets paid off. Laster collected the cash and drove through the night to Rozier's house where together they counted the profits together. So it's a similar allegation, alleging that a player in a professional sports league underperforms in a specific way so that people can place prop bets on that underperformance. You're not betting on the team, you're betting on the player. Wow. Wow, guys. So what do you make of this? We might have to do a poll. Mr. Nobody thinks it's not for them, it's for their friends. Barry says scandalous. John Q. Public says lineup. Glenn Tech says Black Sox all over again. We're going to do a poll. The poll is, will both players be convicted of any crimes? Will both players be convicted of any crimes? They're charged with multiple crimes. Okay. Facebook polls are still not working. I'll post it quickly on YouTube and Twitch and see what YouTube and Twitch people say. G. Ferraro thinks Clase threw his life away. Can we bet on the poll, says Sheet Metal Music. As I mentioned, according to online, according to according to Spotrac, SPOTRAC.com, where you can go to see sports salary information. Spotrac says that Clase made $4.9 million this year and was supposed to make $6.4 million next year. In the previous 3 years, made $1.92 and $2.9 million. And Spotrac said that Ortiz made $782,600 this year, was supposed to make $820,000 next year, and his career earnings are roughly $2.2 million. That's according to Spotrac. You can go there, SPOTRAC.com. That's what they report. Chaser thinks Trump will pardon them. All right, let's see what you said for the poll here. I said, will both players be convicted of any crimes? So I guess the way I asked it is that you'd have to have both be convicted of at least one crime, both of them. And I could have been a little more clear about that. But anyways, I said any crimes. On YouTube, it's 80% yes, 20% say no. And on Twitch, it is 88% yes, 13% no. Ventura Highway thinks they're both cooked. Mad Mike says, I'll bet they get convicted. Wow. Cherry Coca-Cola says, I'm sure their mates feel the same. What about people on the team? What about their teammates? How do they feel? Now, again, you might say, well, it's one pitch. But look, if you throw a ball, these things can affect the outcome of the game. If you throw a ball for your first pitch instead of throwing a strike, that's going to make it less likely that you get the batter out. So you are hurting your team if you intentionally throw a ball instead of trying to throw a strike. The other thing someone might argue is they might argue that I don't know how it affects your performance in general. Someone might make an argument like, look, if you're doing this stuff and you're involved in this stuff, you're going to be thinking about that a lot, and worrying about that is going to be stressing you out, and you're not going to be focusing on the game as much as you could. I don't know. I'm not going to say whether that's true or not, but I certainly think somebody could make an argument saying that that kind of thing is not conducive to you giving 100% effort and being 100% focused on being the best pitcher you can be. I don't know what one of our viewers said, did he get the outs? I don't know in those what the result of those at-bats were. Dodger Blue says, so thanks for voting in the poll. Dodger Blue says, thanks, Dodger Blue. Dodger Blue says 65 years for two pitches for $5,000 to $7,000 when their contracts are worth millions, make it make sense. So yeah, a number of viewers have said, why would they do that for the amount of money they're getting? So my response is a couple things. First of all, we don't know for a fact that that's all the money they allegedly got. There might be other evidence of that the prosecutors have that they just haven't put in the indictment. There might be payments that they don't know about. So that's point one. Point two is we don't know why they were doing this. So, for example, is it just about the money? For example, I had brought up the possibility you could imagine in some world a player gets threatened in some way, or maybe viewers have talked about maybe some of the bettors were friends of theirs or relatives of theirs, or we've talked about the possibility, players make a lot of money, but even if you make a lot of money, doesn't mean you have a lot of money. You could lose a lot of money doing things like gambling or other things. So did they need the money? Another thing, a viewer said, a player could get a thrill by doing this kind of thing. So I wouldn't assume that they were only doing this for things like $5,000 payments per pitch. I wouldn't assume that. Now, again, I will say that one of the allegations here is that Clase gave a bettor some of his own money to bet on his own pitch. So do they think he did that more? I don't know. Were they betting on their own pitches? So the indictment is a certain amount, they've been indicted with certain crimes, and the indictment has evidence in it to show that it's supposed to provide enough evidence to show that there's, I believe, probable cause to think that they've committed these crimes. But my point is here that there very well could be other evidence that the indictment doesn't give you all the evidence that they have, or doesn't necessarily give you that. So the prosecutors might have evidence of them making money other ways. Maybe the prosecutors have some evidence they made money other ways, but not enough to convict them, so they're not charging them on that. Maybe there's ways that the two pitchers made money off of this that prosecutors never found out or never uncovered. So my whole point here is I wouldn't assume that the only thing the players got out of this were these, payments roughly of $5,000, $7,000 or $10,000 or whatever it's talked about here. But I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. It's a good question. It's a very good question, obviously, as to why they did this. But look, it's also if they're doing it, are other players doing this? Are other players doing this? And our viewers have wondered if you could have officials doing stuff. Man. Jonathan Morris says, how many different athletes do you think are nervous? Accidental Fire says, I wonder if they're coerced into doing it. Lights Please says crazy. Wow. Those are quite some details in that indictment. All right, I'll take a few more comments here. Thomas Darwin says this is how real scandals start. Maybe more people are involved. I don't know. Brad says they are all cheaters. Major League Baseball is 100% corrupt. Oh, you know what I was going to do? I was going to look out. I don't know if I can get you an answer. I was trying to find out if the bettors who bet against, if you bet that one of these pitches there was going to be a strike and not a ball and you lost that bet, so you were like defrauded, can you get your money back? I just asked Google AI real quick, and it talked about how maybe the betting platform has a policy on this, or maybe you could contact the state's gaming commission, seek legal counsel. It said. So I don't know. This is a good question. I don't know the answer to this. And I don't know what the policies are of the different betting platforms or the gaming commissions, or one of the viewers said, could you sue the pitcher who's been alleged to have done this? Real Sportsman says, I'm sure there's lots of fine print with that. Edgar Boogerman says, good luck with that. Margaret G says, civil lawsuit against the players. All right. Well, guys, look, I think to me, this is a fascinating story, but the details are crazy in this story. So I want to come on and cover it, but I think I'm going to start wrapping this up. But I appreciate you joining me on a Sunday afternoon to talk about these charges against 2 MLB pitchers for rigging pitches. Wow. Bunny says, I think it stinks. And how can we ever watch a fair game again? I'm not going to cover the Senate vote if they vote, because I will say it again. According to Jake Sherman, who is a very respected political journalist with Punchbowl, he said earlier today that the Senate was talking about some sort of deal, but that this represents the very, very early stages to reopen the government. And that if the Senate agreed on something, then the House would have to come back and wrestle with this for a bit. So he said we are in the very early stages of Congress beginning to open up the government. He has also posted in recent minutes that that there are some House Democrats who've come out against a deal. But anyways, I think the big and I think I'm not even sure how this would all play out. My point is this: the Senate is not voting to end the shutdown. A Senate vote today will not end the shutdown. That is my understanding. Is that it's not the case that the Senate will have a vote today and then the shutdown is over. Okay, so I am not planning on going live to cover a Senate vote. But I'll keep an eye on things. And I'm not seeing reporting as I look around saying that somehow the shutdown is going to end today. That does not seem to be what's happening. Politico says Senate is hoping for a shutdown breakthrough today. But no Democrats have publicly flipped their position. Also, Politico says even if the Senate approves a deal today, they say progressives could drag out passage for days. And speeding it up would require consent of all 100 senators. And then the House would need to come back to pass the agreement to reopen the government. But it's not, Politico says it's not even clear there's going to be a deal today. So again, I'll keep an eye on it. I'll keep an eye on things. If I feel that there's huge enough news, maybe we'll do a stream on it. All right. Hey, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming to the stream. We cover all kinds of live breaking news here. So if you want to subscribe, follow Agenda Free TV. Really appreciate you being here. And I would suggest, well, first of all, if there's breaking updates today on various things, I will post about them on my X account at Lookner on X. You can follow me there for news updates. And I would suggest you turn on notifications for the channel. I never know when huge new news is going to happen and I'm going to jump on the air. But we have a notification system that's free, and you can subscribe to the notifications. It's really easy. Our mods will post the link to the free notifications in the chat. You can find that link on YouTube and Facebook in the description of this broadcast. So sign up for the notifications. Really, really appreciate you guys tuning in. And also a lot of people were posting comments in the chat and sending in comments and questions and letting me read them on the air. And, oh, by the way, I missed this one. Karen Moore says, I wonder if this is linked to the same crime families as basketball. So part of the basketball allegation was, if I remember right, there was an allegation about poker games, illegal poker games involving allegedly Italian crime families. I have not seen any allegations that any of this betting activity was allegedly related to Italian crime families. So I haven't seen anything to suggest it at this point. Thanks, Karen Moore, for sending in that comment, though. I appreciate it, Karen Moore. Sorry, I just saw it now. I hope Karen's still watching. So sorry I missed that before. Hold on a second here. Thanks to all, thanks to all of our moderators too for being here. Thanks so much, mods. They're the reason that we can have chat rooms. They keep it under control and respectful in the chat. So thank you, BZ, Ruth Krafasi, Beth Mythical, all over there on YouTube. Thank you. Also on Twitch, 13 Alamo, Idaho Star. I got that fire. Matthew Kohai 3 and Sarah. Thanks so much. On Facebook, Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley, Paul Anderson, Shannon Davis Hughes, Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha. Thank you. Huge thanks for the mods. Let's see here. Thanks everybody who donated. That's so nice of you guys. That is how this channel can be on the air, is your support. So I really appreciate. By the way, I think maybe pitch rigging should have been hyphenated. I think maybe it should be hyphenated. Is pitch rigging hyphenated? I think it is. I think it's supposed to be this. I just thought about that right now. I think. Sorry if I got that wrong. For whatever it's worth, Google AI says it's usually not hyphenated. All right. And I don't know if that's correct. Anyways, maybe I was okay on it. Anyways, it's really not a huge thing. Hey, thanks everybody who donated. That's really nice of you. If you ever want to donate, you go to agendafree.tv, but I really appreciate it. Let me make sure I got everybody. Oh, I missed it. Mr. E015. Yeah, the whole Italian crime family thing, we covered that. Here, look. This is from the NBA thing. 31 defendants, including members and associates of organized crime families and National Basketball Association coach Chauncey Billups, charged in schemes to rig illegal poker games. So that's where we covered, I'm not going to get into detail on this before, but they talk about different families in this. I'm going to post a link to the... They say, as alleged in the indictment, the Bonanno and Genovese and Gambino crime families of La Cosa Nostra backed the Lexington Avenue game, the Washington Place game, blah, 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 blah. If you want to read about this, I will post a link in the chat to this press release from a couple weeks ago. And you can see the FBI said this alleged scheme wreaked havoc across the nation, exploiting the notoriety of some and the wallets of others to finance the Italian crime families. Anyways, this is a different story, though. So I'll put a link to that in the chat, and you can read about that. You can read the allegations in that one. Thanks to Mr. EE015 for your support. CC for your support over there on Twitch. Thank you. Also, another good way to find out when we're live is to follow us on X at Agenda Free TV. I always post there when we're going live. I post updates about the channel there as well. Agenda Free TV on X. And if you are watching on YouTube, I would suggest. Oh, thanks to our Discord moderators, by the way. Speaking of Discord, thanks to our Discord moderators, we have a chat where you can chat with other viewers for free when we're not on the air on Discord. Check out the Discord chat. It's the same link as the link to the free notifications. So check out the Discord chat. And for those of you who watch on YouTube, I would suggest make sure you have the YouTube notifications turned on. If you want to turn on the YouTube notifications, what you need to do is you need to subscribe to the channel and then click this bell here and choose all notifications. So turn those on if you're watching on YouTube. All right, thanks also to our Twitch subscribers for supporting the channel, like Sarah and Gina Pina and Wall Street and Shaggy and Billy Joe. Thank you so much. Barcodable, Emmanuel, and Cece, and all of our other subscribers over there. Massachusetts guy, thank you to all of our Twitch subscribers for supporting the channel. Also, our Facebook subscribers, I really appreciate it, like Robert Real II. Our viewer, Jamie Smith, by the way, said, these baseball players trying to be rich, too bad they were caught red-handed. Tammy Mitchell says, just how deep does it go? Stay tuned. Jamie says, I wonder how long this has been going on. Hey, thanks to Sharon Clase and Gosselin for subscribing. Jennifer Ellers for subscribing. Thank you. Kay Lowry Body and Margaret Riley, thanks for subscribing. Martha Crawford, Susan Priest Buchner, Shannon Davis Hughes, and all of our other Facebook subscribers. And our YouTube members like By the C760, Dr. McRib, Thomas Darwin, Northwoods, Real Sportsman, Ed Weeby, Evelyn in Maine, Gary Baines, CAC 813, Dior, Berry, Betsy's Tag, Dr. McRib, Jen's Crunchy, Vax. Thanks, Ed Weeby, for the membership. I really appreciate that, Ed Weeby. Thank you. Thanks again, Aaron Easton, for your support. Moragai NE, thanks for being a member. Thomas Darwin, Mr. Showtime, Shackled Text, Darren175, Sevenfold, Pat W., CAC813, Sydney, thank you, and all of our other YouTube members, and everybody else for watching. Oh, Ruth, did I miss Ruth? Did I say all the moderators on YouTube? Ruth Grafasi, Beth Mythical, Beezy. Did I get them all? Leslie Ladyhawk. Oh, we have a new moderator today. Leslie Ladyhawk, thanks for moderating. Thanks for being a new moderator. Really appreciate that. Leslie is over there on YouTube. Thank you, Leslie. All right, guys. 58 Music, thanks for watching. And all of our other viewers. All right, guys, that is it for now. I'll keep an eye on the news today. Did I think I got that fired for subscribing? I hope so. I'll keep an eye on the news today. Maybe we'll come on the air later, do another stream, depending on how the news develops. That is it for right now. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.